Yeah, I tried to do a recording earlier, but apparently my microphone was off. So let me pull my microphone here. I want to talk about Carl Nassib's coming out today. Carl Nassib is a defensive lineman, defensive end. He's currently playing for the Las Vegas Raiders, and he came out today in an Instagram video, and he made it short and sweet, about a minute long, basically saying he's gay, and he's he's donating $100,000 to Trevor Project. Now, I am ecstatic. I'm very very happy for him. I'm very excited for this historic moment for the NFL. Reason being, it's been 7 years since Michael Sam was drafted by the NFL. 7 years, and nobody came out. Nobody in the NFL dared to come out because I think the Michael Sam story was really bad. Michael Sam was a star player in college football, but the fact being, he was only one season. He was playing well only one season. He won award. I think Southern some defensive player of the year award. But the fact being, he's not really NFL caliber. But he's a tweener. He's too small for NFL and not strong enough. So college football is totally different from the NFL. Surviving in the NFL is not easy. And what happened to Michael Sam was that Michael Sam was cut. Michael Sam was drafted really low, and the Michael Sam drafting story is another big problem because no team wants him. No team wanted him until, I mean, what seems to be, and this is what everybody's impression is, that nobody drafted him until the last minute. We think Roger Goodell, NFL commissioner, made a deal with with the Cowboys, or was it St. Louis Rams, um, to draft him in the seventh round. So to just for NFL to avoid the embarrassment that a star player who's openly gay was not drafted, but he was cut during the preseason and never played a down in an NFL season postseason game. And I think Michael Sam getting cut in the preseason can be interpreted in so many ways. But I think most football fans will tell you that he's not good enough. He just doesn't have the physical ability like that's required in an NFL. However, to if you consider if imagine you're an NFL player who is, like most NFL players, goes year to year. The majority of the NFL players don't have job security. So when you hear something like this, when you hear a gay player was cut during the preseason, what would you think about? I mean, you gotta kind of question it. You gotta question. You gotta think about, is it, does it have something to do with his gay? And it's not how it wasn't. And the terrible thing about Michael Sam's preseason game was a female reporter went to his teammate and asked, well, what do you think about uh, sharing a locker room with a gay man, sharing a shower with gay men? And that was a terrible, terrible mistake. unforgivable mistake. So so what happened to Michael Sam was so unfortunate, so messy, that I think was part of the reason why it takes another 7 years for another player to come out. This time, I think it's different, and I'll tell you why it's different. Nassib, Carl Nassib, is is a good player, and he has a secure job. He has a good contract. I watched some Nassib plays. He he's in his prime. In his He's a 6 year veteran, and he um, he is a good player. He's a starter, and to be consistently a starter in the NFL is not easy. I think he started 5 games in for the Raiders last season, his first season with the Raiders. He signed a 3 year contract with the Raiders, so he has 2 more seasons to go, and his contract was $25 million for 3 seasons. So that tells you that he's a valued player. He's not a small player. He's not a nobody. Out of hundreds and hundreds of NFL players, he's a good one. He had for 6 seasons he had 20.5 sacks. And that's not easy. Anybody who knows the NFL would tell you that's not easy. Being able to perform year after year in the NFL for 6 years, it's not easy. A lot of high round drafts kind of lose their ability to play, or just ended up not being able to play in the NFL. In their first or second or third regular season, they're cut. So Nassib, however, is in his prime, a good player, and a defensive lineman. So I think Michael Sam is also a defensive lineman. I think the important thing about being a defensive lineman is, they are mean, they are strong. Defensive ends are fast. They're mean. They're strong. This is a pretty strong position. It takes a strong person. It takes a fast, strong, large, but agile person to play the defensive end. Wherein an offensive linemen are usually fat, but defensive linemen are strong and fast. So I think that's good for breaking the stereotype. I think having a wide receiver, for example, coming out is not the same as a defensive end coming out. That plays a part. I think we're very lucky to have Nassib, who has a great career, to come out for us, to, in his own words, to have representation and visibility for gay people in the NFL. Um, I think it will help. My hope is that for those players who are not safe, for NFL active players who are not safe for their contract, they will feel a little better about coming out if this Nassib story goes well. Um, a lot of people say, who cares? But usually those are conservatives. They're like, who cares? Why should I know? The reason it's important is because it's important to somebody. Uh, Coming out is important to somebody. So, especially somebody in sports, male sports, coming out is important to somebody, and somebody is struggling out there. We know there are hundreds and hundreds of players in the NFL. I would say there's gotta be a dozen or so gay, like NFL players, active players, at least. I mean, we heard rumors, right? But if they don't come out, what are we to say? They're just rumors. I think it remains to be seen if this is a watershed moment or it's just a blip in history. Um, Eventually, I think the NFL. Eventually, I don't know when. Maybe 10 years, 20 years from now, there will be other players that come out. But my hope is that his coming out and the reaction of his coming out and the league support will help other players come out. And I think the concern is, people are going to call him slurs on the field. Um, I think the NFL, if they caught somebody like that, might fine them, just because they need to preserve NFL's reputation. My hope is that everybody would say, "Good on you, good for you, Nassib, and good for you, Carl," and move on. And that's that, and not make a big deal asking his teammate about it. Not make a big deal about it. I think that's going to help. I think the next time he goes on the field, my hope is that the broadcaster, the announcers, the analysts are not going to even bring up his sexuality because it's irrelevant. It's relevant to a game. I think it's relevant to the league in general. In life, there are kids out there who wonder if they can play football just and being gay. You know, the culture's there. The culture needs to be to be broken. So, so I hope everybody would just say, "Good for you," and that's an episode, and then we go on to our business. The NFL go on to our business, and then hopefully more people will start to come out, because nobody deserves to be in a closet out of fear. It's a horrible, horrible thing. I heard. I've never been in a closet, because for the same reason. I've never been in the closet. Very few people ask me if I'm gay. I'm only asked maybe 2 or 3 times in my life on my face, "Are you gay?" And my reaction is always yes. It doesn't matter. There was one time the situation is a little tough, but I know that, there are countless faceless gay people that I have to represent. And I think that's how Nassib feels right now. That it's his duty, his responsibility, um, to help those people feel a little better about themselves. So good for him. Good for the NFL. Let's hope this is just the beginning.